SA Human Rights Commission has painted a bleak picture of child malnutrition in the Eastern Cape. The SAHRC is calling for it to be declared a disaster in order for government to intervene urgently. Now, the Commission conducted an investigation into the state of food security in the province. Now, for more on the findings of the probe, I'm joined by Eastern Cape SAHRC Manager, Dr. Eileen. Very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. A concerning finding from the South African Human Rights Commission. Does it come as a surprise at all? I mean, a substantial percentage of children in the Eastern Cape are suffering from various forms of malnutrition.
Good afternoon. Yeah, absolutely. And this is not just a case for the Eastern Cape. The numbers of the stunting rate in South Africa has been known for quite some time. 27% of children in our country are stunted, 25% in the Eastern Cape. Now, what we have found through our inquiry, where we had several stakeholders deliver evidence under oath, including government stakeholders, is that poverty and unemployment, unfortunately, is feeding into this very, very critical situation. And unfortunately, it is not letting up. So ours has been to make recommendations to government and a variety of stakeholders on how to urgently intervene in this crisis.
I mean, since the dawn of democracy in South Africa, the country has struggled with a persistent high level of child malnutrition, measured as stunting when children are too short for their age. What has the data you worked with indicate about the severity of this crisis? Is it perhaps much bigger of an issue than what the data is showing?
No, absolutely. That's the unfortunate thing, is that we think this is wholly underreported. We have already seen preliminary data in respect of what the current severe acute malnutrition rates are looking like. And this, in fact, was echoed by the health minister in July already, where he indicated that severe acute malnutrition has increased with a 26%. So the numbers that we worked on from the Commission side, we already saw almost 120 children die due to malnutrition, and around 1,100 being affected by it. We are fearing that that number has definitely increased in the meantime.
The impact of child malnutrition on society, how should we now be understanding it? Because surely it goes beyond being a concern just for the well-being of the affected children.
Absolutely. I think that's why they call it the slow violence as well. It has an immediate effect on children now, but it stunts their development. It makes them unable to reach their full potential and perhaps even then contribute to this economy effectively. So it's definitely not an individual issue. It is not just the issue of the family in Busikisiki. It's not just an Eastern Cape issue. It is a national crisis. And what we have done is we've made about 38 recommendations to stakeholders, to about 12 stakeholders to come to the table, because collectively we need to address this.
And what do those recommendations entail? I mean, you speak of stakeholders. Does that include the Department of Home Affairs, for instance?
Absolutely. We've seen that birth registration, we need to address that very urgently so, because to access social assistance, we've seen that the mothers would, for instance, be rejected from SAHRC by not providing the birth registration documents. So we've asked DHA to come on board. We've asked very specifically for two matters to be considered. The first is for the child support grant, which you would know it unfortunately falls below the food poverty line. It hasn't kept up with food inflation, which means the child support grant cannot meet the most basic nutrient requirements of our children. Now, the other beautiful strategy that government has implemented for years now that is very effective is the National School Nutrition Program. But now, me only mentioning that, you would know that that would exclude the 0 to 5-year-old cohort. So the children below the age of school-going age do not have access to that one meal a day. They only rely on the child support grant. So what we are saying is there's a clear differentiation in this respect. And we are recommending that Treasury come on board, that social development comes on board and consider perhaps even in a staggered approach increasing the child support grant for the 0 to 5-year-olds until we can roll out the school nutrition program to the ECD sector effectively as well.
We saw Minister Enoch Gotongwana in his budget speech last week. I mean, some applaud from South Africans supporting the decision to prolong the 350 Rand grant for another year in 2024. I mean, that got some reaction, but of course a significant number of people will be cut out of that, 350 Rand. As you propose to perhaps have government consider increasing the child support grant, how much more do you think could perhaps, make a little bit of a difference to children who are suffering from this condition when it comes to perhaps requesting government to give out more money?
So in respect of, firstly, just to make that distinguishment between the rights of everyone, which sometimes can be limited, and the rights of children, whose rights may be seen as immediately enforceable, that's the position the Commission is taking. So we're saying that there's an urgency in respect of the rights of children as we read the best interests of the child principle as well in Section 28 of our Constitution. But currently, to give you an indication, the child support grant is 510 Rand. Now, the food poverty line is 760 Rand. So you will see there is a disparity. And what we're asking is that whether we can make up that disparity at this stage to assist us in this very urgent situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Eastern Cape SAHRC Manager, Dr. Eileen Carter, speaking about some concerning findings when it comes to the number of malnutrition children, malnourished children, especially in the Eastern Cape.